57. True pilgrim lays bare his woes at Mount Potalaka. False Monkey King transcribes texts at Water Curtain Cave. We were telling you about a dejected great sage son, who rose into midair. He was about to return to the Water Curtain Cave of the Flower Fruit Mountain, but he was afraid that those little fiends might laugh at him, for how could he be a true hero if he could betray his own word? He thought of seeking shelter in the Celestial Palace, but he feared that he would not be given permission to stay there long. He next thought of the islands in the sea, but then he was ashamed to face the resident immortals. Finally, he considered the Dragon Palace, but he could not stomach the idea of approaching the Dragon Kings as a suppliant. Truly, he had absolutely no place to go, and he thought sadly to himself, "All right. All right. All right. I'll go to see my master again, for only that will bear the right fruit." He dropped down from the clouds and went before the horse of Tripitaka, saying, "Master, please forgive this disciple one more time. I'll never dare work violence again. I promise I'll accept all your admonitions, and I beg you to let me accompany you to the Western Heaven." When the Tang monk saw him, however, he even refused to reply. As soon as he reined in the horse, he recited the tight fillet spell. Over and over again, he went through it for more than 20 times until the great sage fell prostrate to the ground, the fillet cutting an inch into his flesh. Only then did the elder stop and say, "Why don't you leave? Why have you come to bother me again?" Pilgrim could only reply, "Don't recite anymore. Don't recite anymore. I can spend my days somewhere, but without me I fear that you can't reach the Western Heaven." Growing angry, Tripitaka said, "You are a murderous ape. Heaven knows how many times you've brought troubles on me. I absolutely don't want you anymore. Whether I can reach there or not, it's no concern of yours. Leave quickly. If you don't, I'll start the magic word again, and this time, I won't stop, not until your brains are squeezed out." When the great sage saw that his master refused to change his mind, and as the pain was truly unbearable, he had no alternative but to mount his cloud somersault once more and rise into the air. Then he was struck by the thought, "If this monk is so ungrateful to me, I'll go to the Bodhisattva Guanyin at Mount Potalaka and tell on him. Dear great sage." He turned his somersault around and in less than an hour reached the great southern ocean. Lowering his auspicious luminosity, he descended on the Potalaka mountain and sped at once into the purple bamboo grove. There he was met by the disciple Mak, who greeted him, saying, "Where is the great sage going? I must see the Bodhisattva." Replied Pilgrim. Mak led him to the entrance of the Tidal Sound cave, where the boy skilled in wealth also greeted him, saying, "Why has the great sage come here? I have something to tell on the Bodhisattva." Pilgrim said, when he heard the words, "To tell on." Skilled in wealth laughed and said, "What a smart-mouthed ape. You think you can oppress people just like the time I caught the Tang monk. Our Bodhisattva is a holy and righteous goddess, one who is of great compassion, great promise, and great conveyance, one who with boundless power saves us from our sufferings. What has she done that you want to bring an accusation against her?" Pilgrim was already deeply depressed. What he heard only aroused him to anger, and he gave such a snarl that the boy skilled in wealth backed off at once. "You wicked, ungrateful little beast!" he shouted. "You are so dim-wit-ed. You were once a fiend, a spirit, but it was I who asked the Bodhisattva to take you in. Since you have made your submission to the right, you have been enjoying true liberty and long life, an age as everlasting, in fact, as heavens. Instead of thanking me, how dare you be so insulting? I said that I was going to tell something on the Bodhisattva. How dare you say that I'm smart-mouthed?" Trying to placate him with a smile, Skilled in Wealth said, "You're still an impulsive ape. I was just teasing you. Why do you change color so suddenly?" As they were thus conversing, a white cockatoo came into view, flying back and forth before them for a couple of times, and they knew that this was the summons of the Bodhisattva. Whereupon Mak-a and skilled in wealth led the way to the treasure lotus platform. As Pilgrim went to his knees to bow to the Bodhisattva, he could no longer restrain the tears from gushing forth, and he wailed loudly. Asking Mak-a to lift him up, the Bodhisattva said, "Wukong, tell me plainly what's causing you such great sorrow. Stop crying. I'll relieve your suffering and dispel your woe." Pilgrim, still weeping, bowed again before he said, "In previous years, when has your disciple ever consented to be snubbed by anyone? When, however, I was liberated by the Bodhisattva from my heaven-sent calamity, and when I took the vow of complete poverty, to accompany the Tang monk on his way to see Buddha for scriptures in the Western heaven, I was willing to risk my very life. To rescue him from his demonic obstacles was like snatching a tender bone from the tiger's mouth, scraping off one scale, live, from a dragon's back. My only hope was to be able to return to the real and attain the right fruit, to cleanse myself of sins and destroy the deviates. How could I know that this elder could be so ungrateful? He cannot recognize any virtuous cause, nor can he distinguish between black and white. Tell me," said the Bodhisattva, "a little about the black and white." Whereupon Pilgrim gave a thorough account of how he had beaten to death the brigands, which provoked the misgivings of the Tang monk. How without distinguishing black and white, the Tang monk had used the tight fillet spell to banish him several times. And how he had to come to lay bare his woes to the Bodhisattva because there was no place on earth or in heaven where he could find refuge. Then the Bodhisattva said to him, "When Tripitaka received the imperial decree to journey to the west, his sole intention was to be a virtuous monk, and therefore he most certainly would not lightly take even one human life. With your limitless magic power, why should you beat to death these many bandits? Those brutish bandits are no good, to be sure, but they are, after all, human beings, and they don't deserve such punishment. They are not like those fiendish foul or monstrous beasts, those demons or griffins. If you kill or slaughter those things, it's your merit, but when you take human lives, then it's your wickedness. Just frighten them away, and you would still be able to protect your master. In my opinion, therefore, you have not acted in a virtuous manner." Still tearful, Pilgrim kowtowed and said, "Though I may not have acted in a virtuous manner, I should have been given a chance to use my merit to atone for my sins. I don't deserve to be banished like this. I beg now the Bodhisattva to have compassion on me and recite the loose fillet spell. Let me be released from the golden fillet and I'll give it back to you. Let me go back to the water curtain cave with my life." Smiling at him, the Bodhisattva replied, "The tight fillet spell was imparted to me originally by Tathagata, who sent me in that year to go find a scripture pilgrim in the land of the East. He gave me 3 kinds of treasure, the brocade cassock, the 9-ringed priestly staff, and 3 fillets named the golden, the tight, and the prohibitive. I was also taught in secret 3 different spells, but there was no such thing as the loose fillet spell." "In that case," said Pilgrim, "let me take leave of the Bodhisattva." The Bodhisattva asked, "Where are you going?" "To the Western heaven," replied Pilgrim, "where I'll beg Tathagata to recite the loose fillet spell." "Wait a moment," said the Bodhisattva, "and let me skin the fortune for you." "No need for that," said Pilgrim. "This sort of misfortune is all I can take. I'm not scanning yours," said the Bodhisattva. "But the Tang monks, dear Bodhisattva." As she sat solemnly on the lotus platform, her mind penetrated the 3 realms and her eyes of wisdom surveyed from a distance the entire universe. In a moment, she opened her mouth and said, "Wukong, your master will soon encounter a fatal ordeal. Before long, he will be looking for you, and I will tell him then to take you back so that both of you can acquire the scriptures to attain the right fruit." The great sage son had no choice but to obey. Not daring to misbehave, he stood at attention beneath the lotus platform where we shall leave him for the moment. We tell you now about the elder Tang, who, after he had banished Pilgrim, told 8 rules to lead the horse and Sha monk to pull the luggage. All 4 of them headed toward the west. When they had traveled some 50 miles, Tripitaka stopped the horse and said, "Disciples, we left the village at the early hour of the 5th watch, and then that ban horse plague made me terribly upset. After this half a day, I'm quite hungry and thirsty. Which of you will go beg me some food?" "Please dismount, master," said 8 Rules, "and let me see if there's a village nearby for me to do so." On hearing this, Tripitaka climbed down from the horse, while Idiot rose on the clouds. As he stared all around, he found mountains everywhere, but there was not a single house in sight. Dropping down, 8 Rules said to Tripitaka, "There's no place to beg food. I couldn't see a village anywhere." "If there's no place to beg food," said Tripitaka, "let's get some water for my thirst." 8 Rules said, "I'll go fetch some water from the brooklet south of the mountain." Shamunk therefore handed the alms bowl over to him, and supporting it with his palm, 8 Rules left on the clouds and fog. The elder sat by the road to wait for him, but after a long while, he still did not return. The bitter thirst, alas, was becoming quite unbearable, for which we have a testimonial poem. The poem says,